You've been paying into Social Security your entire working life. Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. And I'm about to show you why you'll never see most of it back. The trust fund? It's not actually there. The money? Already spent. Your retirement? At risk. And the people in charge? They've known for decades. Since 1935, Americans have contributed over $23 trillion into Social Security. Today, the trust fund holds $2.8 trillion. Where did the other $20 trillion go? And why is nobody talking about the fact that in 2033, just 9 years from now, every retiree's check will be automatically cut by 24%? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is government math. Let's start with a promise. The year is 1935. America is in the grip of the Great Depression. Banks have failed. Savings have evaporated. Elderly Americans are destitute. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt has an idea that will change the country forever. He proposes a simple deal. Work for 40 years, pay a small percentage of your wages into a government fund, and when you turn 65, you'll receive monthly checks for the rest of your life. It's called Social Security, and it's designed to ensure that no American grows old in poverty. The first Social Security card is issued. The first payroll taxes are collected. And in 1940, the first monthly benefit check is paid to a retired legal secretary named Ida Mae Fuller. She'd contributed a total of $24.50 over 3 years. She lived to be 100 years old and collected $22,888 in benefits. That's a 900-fold return on investment. For decades, the system works beautifully. The reason is simple: demographics. In 1950, there are 16 workers paying into the system for every one retiree taking money out. That's a lot of incoming money supporting relatively few outgoing checks. Social Security isn't just solvent. It's building massive surpluses. But something fundamental is changing. Americans are living longer. Medical advances mean a 65-year-old retiree in 1950 might collect benefits for 10 years. Today, they might collect for 25 years or more. Birth rates are falling. Families that once had 4 or 5 children now have 1 or 2. And the massive baby boom generation born between 1946 and 1964 is now retiring at a rate of 10,000 people per day. The ratio of workers to retirees is collapsing. Today, there are only 2.8 workers paying in for every retiree taking out. By 2035, it'll be 2.3. The math that worked beautifully in 1950 is now broken beyond repair. But here's where the story takes a darker turn. Remember those massive surpluses Social Security built up for decades? The government didn't save them. They spent them. Here's how it worked. When Social Security collected more in payroll taxes than it paid out in benefits, that extra money by law had to be invested in U.S. Treasury bonds. Sounds safe, right? Government bonds are the safest investment in the world. Except here's the problem. When you buy a Treasury bond, you're lending money to the government. The government takes that cash and spends it on whatever Congress wants: military, roads, subsidies, anything. In return, they give Social Security an IOU, a promise to pay it back later with interest. So the Social Security Trust Fund doesn't contain $2.8 trillion in cash. It contains $2.8 trillion in government IOUs. The money has already been spent. The only way Social Security gets that money back is if the government collects it from taxpayers in the future. Think about that. The government borrowed from Social Security to fund current operations. Now, to pay back Social Security, they'll have to tax workers even more. It's not a trust fund. It's an accounting fiction. Some people defend this by saying, well, Treasury bonds are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, so the money is perfectly safe. And technically that's true. The government won't default on those bonds, but that misses the point entirely. When Social Security needs to cash in those bonds to pay your benefits, where does that money come from? It comes from new taxes or new borrowing. The government has to take money from current workers or borrow even more to pay back what it already borrowed. This is exactly how a Ponzi scheme works. Early investors get paid with money from later investors. The scheme works as long as new money keeps flowing in. But the moment you run out of new investors, the whole thing collapses. And Social Security is running out of new investors. In 2010, for the first time in decades, Social Security started paying out more in benefits than it collected in payroll taxes. The program went cash flow negative. To make up the difference, it started redeeming those Treasury bonds. Every year since, the gap has grown wider. The trust fund is shrinking, not slowly, rapidly. And according to the Social Security trustees' own projections, in 2033, the trust fund will hit zero. What happens then? The law is clear. Social Security can only pay benefits from incoming payroll taxes and whatever's in the trust fund. When the trust fund is empty, benefits are automatically cut by whatever percentage is necessary to match incoming revenue. Current estimates say that's a 24% cut across the board. Imagine you're 68 years old in 2033. You've been retired for 3 years. You're receiving $2,100 a month in Social Security, and you're counting on that money to pay rent, buy groceries, cover medical expenses. Then, on January 1st, 2033, your check is automatically reduced to $1,596, $504 a month gone. Just like that. You didn't do anything wrong. Congress didn't vote on it. There was no debate. The law simply executes itself because the trust fund is empty. Now multiply that across 70 million retirees, the largest sudden reduction in retirement income in American history. And unlike the 2008 financial crisis, there's no bailout coming. This is a mathematical certainty unless Congress acts. So why doesn't Congress fix it? Because every solution is political poison. Solution 1, raise the retirement age. Currently, full retirement age is 67 for people born after 1960. Congress could raise it to 70 or 72. After all, people are living longer and healthier lives. This would reduce the number of years people collect benefits and increase the years they pay in. But tell a 55-year-old construction worker whose body is breaking down that he has to work until 72. Tell a nurse who's been on her feet for 40 years that retirement is 5 more years away. This solution is massively unpopular, especially with blue-collar workers whose jobs are physically demanding. Solution 2, raise payroll taxes. Currently, workers pay 6.2% of their wages to Social Security, and employers match that for a total of 12.4%. Congress could raise that to 15% or 18%, but Americans already feel overtaxed. Raising payroll taxes means smaller paychecks for workers and higher labor costs for businesses. It's economic and political suicide. Solution 3, means test benefits. Currently, Social Security pays benefits based on your lifetime earnings, not your need. A retiree with $10 million in savings gets the same Social Security check as someone with nothing. Congress could reduce or eliminate benefits for wealthy retirees. But this breaks Social Security's fundamental promise. You pay in, you get benefits. If it becomes a welfare program instead of earned insurance, political support crumbles. Why would high earners keep paying in if they get nothing back? Solution 4, remove the wage cap. Currently, Social Security taxes only apply to the first $160,000 of income. Earn more than that, and you pay nothing on the excess. Congress could eliminate that cap, making millionaires and billionaires pay the full 12.4% on all their income. This would raise significant revenue, but it also breaks the benefit structure. High earners would pay massively more in taxes, but receive the same capped benefits. And wealthy people have political influence and lawyers. They'd find ways around it. Every solution requires pain, and in American democracy, politicians get punished for imposing pain. So instead, both parties have spent decades doing absolutely nothing. Democrats won't touch benefit cuts. Republicans won't raise taxes. And the trust fund keeps draining. The tragic irony is that the longer Congress waits, the worse the solutions get. If they'd acted in 1990, minor adjustments would have fixed everything. A slight tax increase here, a small retirement age bump there, problem solved. But they didn't. And now the problem is so large that only major painful changes can fix it. And those are even less politically viable. So Congress continues to do nothing, and 2033 gets closer every day. Now let me tell you what this means for you personally. If you're currently retired or retiring in the next 5 years, you're probably fine. Your benefits will continue as promised, at least until 2033, but you need a plan for what happens after that. If you're in your 50s or early 60s and planning to retire in the next decade, you are directly in the danger zone. You'll likely experience that automatic 24% cut unless Congress acts. Do not count on your full Social Security benefit. Plan for significantly less. If you're in your 30s or 40s, the situation is even worse. You've been paying into Social Security your entire career, but the math simply doesn't work. Even if Congress fixes the 2033 crisis, long-term demographics mean the program will face constant pressure. Benefits will be cut. Retirement ages will rise. You will not get back what you put in. And if you're in your 20s, just starting your career, you should assume Social Security will not exist in any meaningful form when you retire. I'm not saying it'll disappear completely, but the benefit you receive will likely be a fraction of what current retirees get. Plan accordingly. So what do? First, maximize your own retirement savings. If your employer offers a 401k match, contribute at least enough to get the full match. That's free money. Max out a Roth IRA every year. The current limit is $7,000 if you're under 50. That money grows tax-free and isn't subject to the whims of Congress. Second, don't count on Social Security as your primary retirement income. Treat it as a bonus if it's there, not the foundation of your plan. Financial advisors used to say Social Security would cover about 40% of retirement expenses. Plan for zero and be pleasantly surprised if you get anything. Third, understand that retirement age is likely going up. The traditional retire at 65 model is dead. You may need to work into your 70s, either full-time or part-time, to make your savings last. That's not pessimism. That's demographic reality. Fourth, stay politically engaged. Contact your representatives. Demand they address this before 2033. Politicians ignore problems until voters force them to act. The only way Social Security gets fixed is if enough people make it politically necessary. But here's the hard truth. Even if you do everything right, even if you save diligently and plan carefully, the broken promise of Social Security represents a massive generational wealth transfer. Your grandparents' generation paid in relatively little and received generous benefits for decades. Your generation will pay in far more and receive far less, or possibly nothing. That's not fair. But fairness has nothing to do with it. This is math. The demographics have changed. The system is broken. And the political will to fix it doesn't exist. The Social Security Trust Fund will run out in 2033. That's 9 years away. If you're counting on that money for retirement, you need a backup plan. If you're young and paying in every month, understand that you're funding current retirees, not your own future. Social Security was created with noble intentions. For decades, it worked exactly as designed. It lifted millions of elderly Americans out of poverty and provided dignity in retirement. But the world changed, and the program didn't change with it. Now we're left with a choice. Accept painful reforms now, or face automatic catastrophic cuts later. And based on Congress's track record, we know which one is coming. The money you've been promised isn't there. The trust fund is full of IOUs. And in 9 years, the checks get cut. That's not a prediction. That's a mathematical certainty. So don't wait for the government to fix this. Take control of your own financial future. Because the safety net you've been paying into your entire life might not be there when you need it.